she must have already spelled out also RPE, no? RPE is newly actually introduced by the UGC also. So in the past there was no coursework, but now coursework is a must. In the coursework, RPE was not actually in the beginning, but lately the UGC has actually directed the university to impart and to introduce RPE also. Okay, RPE research area should also be covered thoroughly or nicely so that the prominent or the promising candidate is not facing any problem. So now also this ICSSR is also giving such a chance that where the research scholars are having a good chance to learn more about the researching or the researches or research methodology. So you are lucky. When we did our PhD, there was no such kind of coursework and then such kind of what we call it, a refresher course or what is called training course and all. So today you are lucky even though you have already learned in your coursework for the PhD program, no? So even in our department, public administration, even in other disciplines, under School of Social Sciences, they have made this RPE as a compulsory, no? Am I right? I think you are also, you are in Nagaland University?
No, St. Joseph University.
Pardon?
St. Joseph University.
Oh, St. Joseph University in Nagaland?
Yes.
It's a private or it's
Yes,
a kind
it's a
of a
private
state?
university.
It's okay, no problem. It's good, whatever, but that must be recognized by the UGC. Eventually, if it is not done, but eventually it will be recognized if the performance is good. So with the Northeast, we don't have such a kind of what we call it a fake university, as we found many in the mainstream, no? So Northeastern states are thin population, and we know each other and what is going on and what is happening here and there, we know each other, no? So that's why it cannot be very cheap, whatever we have also, no? Even if it is a state university also, we are doing well. What I mean to say is that we are doing well, that's the thing, okay? So that's why through this kind of research work, we can really explore and really come out with many good things also, so that we, the Northeast people, are also actually getting better facilities, and we promote a kind of socio-economic development, even education progress also can be done. So this is what I would like to. And then, as I said, that I was involving in the Vision 2020, 2028, 2008 I mean, 2008, and I do remember that how much we need a kind of central government intervention and then like a state government intervention in the economic domain, in the economic activities, and even in other political or social domain and all like that. No, anyway, so I have such kind of a sense of belongingness to this region. That's what I want to say. So that's why whenever you are going to do, you please do carry out a research work, even a project work also, covering the Northeast areas. When you are going to cover the Northeast area, you should also sometime then compare and contrast. A comparative study may be also done in a sub-theme or in, if not a separate chapter and all, like that, so that what is going on in the mainland and what is happening here. So that would be very good also. So if we do not bring information from us to this outside of the state, outside of the region, then who would bring? They could not spell out properly the names. They could not properly pronounce even the names of a person. Then we are relying on their writings. So sometimes that hurts me so much. Yeah. So that's why I keep on telling. Then it is very important to have a rigorous research work or project to carry out covering the northeastern area or your state where you belong to. So that is also my actually plea and then humble submission to you, taking undue advantage of this. So anyway, you have been doing research design, you will be doing again and again also, and one day you will be such a kind of a true research scholar, a true, what we call it, teacher or something like that, and even guiding the scholar or even the student. So this is how we also become a teacher. So here I have put very general things, not such a very technical one, and then so that it would be understandable for all of you in a very broad manner. I just try to explain. We all know that the design. Then what is the research design in social sciences and all that we are intending to explain, even though you have an idea already. So you know design means, oh, you design. There is a dress designer, there is a fashion designer also. There is, architect who is designing a blueprint of the building, something like that. Design. You design the program, like that. We used to say, no, in a common parlance, as if it is our actually all, words. So that is the process of making decision before the situation arises in which the decision has to be carried out. It's very important, design. Then what would be the meaning of a research design for a student, for a research scholar, even for a teacher, and for a person who is exploring something? That research design is the arrangement, a proper arrangement, we should say like that, of conditions for collection and analysis of data in a manner that really aims to combine the relevance to the research purpose with maximum economy, I should say like that. So in the procedure. This one was the definition or a kind of explanation made by Sheltis et al. So you can put in other words also, in a broad manner, it is an overall strategy you use to conduct a study, outlining how you will address your research questions, even collect data and analyze findings. So you have been doing this also. It is actually referred as the blueprint for your research work or a project. So that is in a very simple manner I'm putting. So when we talk about researching, research design or research methodology, we thought that it is very new and it is a very difficult topic to understand. No, it is not like that. So that's why I just put in a very simple term and in a very general manner. So that is how the introduction I put, even though it might not be required by you all, but still then I put. So there are key elements or key aspects that is to be considered when research design is prepared. So major key aspect may be considered here. So the first major key aspect is the purpose and the scope. So whenever we prepare a kind of research proposal, then purpose and the scope is a must. Without that, it's not possible. That we will be explaining in the next slide of each. So purpose and the scope are very, very important. They are the key aspect element that is to be considered in designing a research. Then the second key aspect that is to be considered is that approach and methods. So your approach and methods are some of us, even the teacher, even the scholar, even the student are also using as an interchangeable words, as a synonymous. But if we examine in a deeper manner that they are not exactly, but we are using as interchangeable one, of course. Approach is much wider. Even method is also, we can say, very big. But approach within ecological approach, many models can be built, many models can be, or theories can be built, like that. So anyway, approach and methods are to be considered while designing a research. So the third key aspects in the research design is that the key consideration. So under each of these key aspects, there are sub-theme, what we call it, area to be considered. So for that key consideration, I just put it. Okay. Then let's see what is the meaning of purpose and scope in research designing. So we can put in other words also, but still then I'm putting in a very simple, as I said, understandable manner. So your research purpose and scope is to be spelled out very clearly, so that we can also prepare a research questions. So here the core questions your study aims to answer has to be very clear and has to be very much understandable to be understood. So besides that, under this purpose and scope, what you have to keep in mind is that the objective of the research, that the chronological sequence we are following in a practical research design, I may share with you besides what I'm doing here. Okay? So anyway, how do we do in a chronological sequence? How do we prepare a research proposals and all there in our university or in our school that I will share with you. So your objective you have to do, you have to make a specific objective that should also be measurable and achievable also, and it has to be very relevant and a time-bound goals. That is called SMART. S-M-A-R-T, SMART. That is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So that goal has to be set. That goal has to be set, and then as you want to achieve with your research, that is very important. Then here I just put hypothesis, even though in our department, public administration, we don't use much anymore, hypothesis. But in some university, you may still use a hypothesis. In place of this, we use research questions, as I put here. Okay? So anyway, under the School of Social Sciences, some department like history, they are still putting even psychology also, they are putting a hypothesis. The hypothesis that has been in use. Anyway, that is the purpose and the scope that you have to keep in mind while designing your research. So that is hypothesis or research questions has to be attestable statements about the relationship between variables. So that is to be considered while preparing a research design. Okay? Then we may go to the next. I don't prepare many slides, but that is actually understandable what I said, and then easily followable by all of you. So another important key aspect in the social science research, designing, that approach and method is very, very important. So you all have done, I think, when you prepare a research project, a proposal and all, then methodology has been one of the most important components. And then without this properly designing the methodology, then it would not be possible to carry out the research work smoothly. So for that, approach and method are to be considered, and they are also a key elements in the research designing. Here we can call There can be quantitative and qualitative also. So, quantitative and qualitative are usually actually used by the social sciences research, and especially in public administration, even in political science also. Then some department like psychology, they are doing mostly the qualitative or something like. Anyway, they are also using both of this to choose whether your research will focus on numerical data, that is quantitative, or non-numerical data like observations, or interviews, or narrative, that is called qualitative research. So you can adopt both of these. You can actually approach both of this in your research. So another important thing that is to be considered in that is that types of design. So your research design can be a select or select a specific design that can suit your research questions. So for that, experiment may be used, or correlational, or descriptive, or case study. So like that, you can actually make a decision depends upon the area, the scope, and what we call it, the purpose you are using. So the experimental research design is a research method that has been used to investigate the relationship between independent and dependent variables, aiming to especially determine a cause and effect relationship. That is by manipulating maybe one variable or observing its effect on others. So this can also be used. So another one is that correlational. Correlational is commonly used by the psychology department, as far as my knowledge goes. Well, I'm sitting as a Dean School of Social Sciences. I have to sit as one of the examiner in the Open Viva examination of the PhD, final Open Viva. That correlation has been in use commonly by the student and the scholar of the psychology department. So this correlation or correlational research design is a non-experimental method that investigate, of course, relationships between two or more variables without manipulating anyone or manipulating them, focusing mainly on observing and measuring naturally occurring relationships. So the sample size might not be too big for this. So it aims to identify statistical associations and their strength and direction. So but does not establish causation. So that is what we find in this actually correlational research design. Then we find here descriptive research design is also actually adopted or used, that aims to systematically obtain information to describe a phenomenon, situation, or population by responding or answering what, when, where, and how, rather than why. So that is what it referred as a descriptive research design. So a case study is also another one in type of research design. Case study can also be there. So many of the research scholars are also carrying out their PhD research work based on the case study also. So here a case study research design involves an in-depth qualitative investigation of a specific case. It might be individual, or might be a group, or an organization, or an event, to gain a comprehensive understanding of a phenomenon. So a case study was carried out especially after post-COVID. It is commonly actually adopted research design. So it is used to explore complex issues, identify patterns, and provide detailed insights that has been often used when studying real-world situations. So those are the things that approach and method that has been adopted in the social sciences, actually designing a research. Then another one is sampling methods. It's a must for the social sciences, sampling methods. So there can be, method or types of sampling that I'm not going to dwell into detail here. So sampling method is to be very much adopted and is very important also. So that is to determine how you will select the participants or data sources, how big your universe would be in your research. That is very important. Random sampling, we call it, stratified sampling and all. Simple sampling also, we call it. There can be so many types of sampling. So you have to determine how you will select your participant. So you have to adopt this sampling method. Without that, you cannot proceed at all. So in the next, another important issue is to be actually considered is the data collection method. Of course, you have to collect information. What are the source of your information? Then you have to use this sampling method, of course. Then how are you going to apply or use the method for collecting data? So you have to decide how you will gather data, such as through survey or experiment, as it was already explained in broad. Then you can also collect data by using interview method or observation method. You can also adopt this archival research method also for data collection. So you have been using it. So I just put in this big points again, of course, that you have been doing and you are going to do also. Some of you are yet to prepare your research design or your research proposal. And some of you might be submitting soon. I don't know exactly. So, and another important consideration that is to be actually taken care by the researcher is that data analysis method is a must. How are you going to analyze? Simple mathematical calculation can also be used, of course. Anyway, here data analysis method is to be actually adopted your plan how you will analyze your collected data. How are you going to analyze? Whether using statistical techniques or thematic analysis or other methods also. Okay, so analyzing the data is very important. Without that, you are not going to find out any actually reason of the problem, or you are not going to give your results finding. So that is very, very important. For the School of Social Sciences, there is a package also for the School of Social Sciences, statistical package that has been adopted also. Without that also it is very impossible. That has been in use. Okay. Then another important aspect that is to be considered by the scholar, even the teacher and the student in the School of Social Sciences is this, very important now. So key consideration that is to be kept in mind, whether it is ethical issue is taken care or not by the researcher. So here, addressing any ethical concern related to your research, like informed consent, privacy and confidentiality. Because mostly we do kind of adopting a questionnaire, to collect the data, information, from the selected population or respondent or sample. Then all these things are to be considered. Ethical issue is very, very important. If you are not addressing these ethical concerns related to your research, then you may not be able to get a proper information, might not be able to collect the data, also a proper data which can be relied on, or really evident one. So you have to get a consent of your respondent also. Without that, it's not possible. Consent is very important. So whenever you give out or a kind of, you adopt or have a kind of interview, a questionnaire, then you have to assure that privacy is to be maintained. That it should not be disclosed. Then you have to assure that confidentiality will be maintained. Otherwise, you are not going to get any true information from any population, from a sample population, So this has to be kept in mind. That means ethical issue is very, very important today, especially now in the information, at the advent of the information technology, no? So everything is there in the internet. What I'm talking about here today is also, you will find even in the internet. We don't read much about the book, but we find in the internet, so it is very important. This ethical issue is taken care. That's why the UGC is also very, very careful, as we all know that. So another key consideration that is to be kept in mind is that the feasibility. So you have to ensure that your research design is practical and achievable given your resources and time constraint also. So for the PhD work, it is usually 5 years. So within without completing 2 years, you might not be allowed to submit your final thesis. This is the governing rules that has been adopted right now in the Mizoram University, even that is the UGC also. So you have to keep in mind that the time constraint or how much time you have. So the more you are given time, and the more you become lethargy sometime also, no? I still have got more time. That really delay in between, something can happen also, and especially it happens to our research scholar also. I do have experience. Then especially when a girl research scholar, then they wanted to get married. Then once they got married, then children comes in. Then it is very difficult. Oh, I still have. the more the UGC or the rules is flexible, and the more we become flexible. This is happening. Then you have to learn every year new things. You have to refresh yourself every year. It is really very difficult. When it happens to be a boy research scholar also, oh, I'm getting married. Oh, I got a job. Oh, I cannot carry on like that. Oh, my wife is giving birth. I have to take this thing, this and that. I cannot carry on like that. So many things are there. So that's why this feasibility to ensure that your research design is practical and achievable given your resources and time constraint and all that you have to always keep in mind. Then validity is also to be kept in mind, and reliability also here by considering how to ensure that your research findings are accurate and trustworthy. So sometimes, in academic gathering, that this is the finding of my research, or this is the finding of the university, like that. And we find many a times, or not exactly many a times, and then sometimes, that the finding was not trustworthy, is not reliable at all, like that. So this is how it happened. I remember whenever I talk about the women empowerment, the changing status of women in the state of Mizoram, then I always encounter by the male member that, oh, you are talking about women are very less in the government employment. They are everywhere. They are more than men employees under the government of Mizoram. But when I talk about and inform and share my experience in gathering the data, I went to the Department of Economics and Statistics. They have been collecting information, a kind of a survey. So this is the finding, I depend on them. So I don't do myself, like individual department, how many employees, female, male, I couldn't do. So I depend on the government information. Then you count, if you do not believe in what my finding, how many female leader or top in the hierarchical organization. About 39 department, 40 department we have under the government of Mizoram. How many top men are belonging to female? You can count like this. So when I say like this, then they are convinced. So it might be possible, like those departments with whom the majority, the common people are contacting with, like home department, agriculture, sericulture, horticulture, kanti the health department, kanti angatsi. So maybe without considering the police organization, the home guards and all, they are actually men by more than 90% male member. So that in that way they can be convinced. So what I mean to say is here that it has to be valid and reliable also, considering how to ensure that your research findings are accurate and trustworthy. So that is also one of the aspects. Then relevance is also to be considered, that you have to ensure that your research design is relevant to the research question and the field of study. So in the Northeast, even in the state of Mizoram, there are many areas which is not explored till yet. So there are lots of green pasture for a kind of research that can be carried out in a state like Mizoram. That is how I've been telling my student, my scholar also. So that is also be actually taken into consideration. then generalizability is also to be considered here. By considering how your findings can be applied to a broader population or context. So for the School of Social Sciences mostly, it becomes very, very important for the policy maker, for the legislator also, that without depending on the research finding, the policy formulation cannot be very effective, cannot be very sound. But if it is based on the research finding, it can be very much reliable and can be very sound and can be really implementable, or it can really, effectively implemented, something like that. What I mean to say is that this is to be considering how your finding can be applied to a broader population, whether it would be very much relevant and useful, and then would be very insightful and can be utilized by the concerned, what is called population. So that is also to be actually considered while even choosing your research topic, even area you are carrying out. So those are some few things which I can actually share with you in this very afternoon. So anyway, here I put in a very simple manner that for the conclusion, practical designing of a research can be in 4 phases also, as I said in a conclusion of my previous slide, something like. So the sampling design can also be there, that is dealing with the methods of selecting the subject to be observed for the given study. Or the observational design relates to the conditions under which the observations are to be met. Or the statistical design can also be actually prepared, dealing with the questions of how many subjects are to be observed and to be organized to a view to securing answers of the research problems. We can also have this operational designing also, dealing with the specific technologies by which the procedure specified in the sampling, statistical or observational design that can be carried out. So with these few things, I think my last slide is the most important one. It's a thank you that you have to remember. Okay. Anyway, if you want to interact.
Ma'am, can you show the last slide?
Last slide?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the last slide.
Oh, second last slide. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyway, you can get more information. It might not be possible to cover everything in one period, no? So we may adopt one another also. Then your university, your teacher is favoring of a particular design or this thing and thing like that. Depends upon your subject or discipline. So we, in the Mizoram University, the social work department, public administration, and this political science, we are adopting a kind of a similar, but this psychology is slightly different than the correlation of views and quantitative and qualitative. So tomorrow, C must have already spelled out